Aaliyah Dawson never planned to become a ghost in someone else's house, but hiding was the only way she knew to survive. Every morning she scrubbed floors in a mansion where no one looked at her long enough to see the fear behind her eyes. She wore silence like armor, hoping no one would ever ask why a black woman who barely spoke could understand every foreign word whispered in the halls. Yet everything shattered the moment she answered a phone call in perfect French. And her past, the one she'd buried under a new name, came hunting for her with a vengeance. From that day forward, every shadow felt like a threat, every footstep like a warning, and every heartbeat like borrowed time. Stay with me, because what happens next will shake you to your core. Aaliyah Dawson had learned how to become invisible long before she ever stepped foot inside Ethan Whitford's mansion in Buckhead. Being a black woman in wealthy white spaces taught her that invisibility was sometimes safer than being seen. Seen meant judged. Seen meant questioned. Seen meant exposed. And exposure for her was deadly. That morning, sunlight filtered through the tall windows of the living room, catching the soft grains of dust she wiped from the edge of the coffee table. She moved with practiced silence. 6 months of quiet footsteps, 6 months of lowered eyes, 6 months of praying no one ever asked who she really was. Footsteps creaked from upstairs. Ethan's voice drifted down the staircase, low, focused, discussing numbers with someone on speaker. He was the kind of man people listened to, powerful, polished, born into a world that never doubted him. Aaliyah didn't dare lift her eyes. She kept wiping, pretending he wasn't there. Then the landline rang. The sound sliced through the quiet like something sharp. Ring, ring, ring. Aaliyah froze. Ethan stopped mid-sentence. "Marta?" he called toward the kitchen, expecting the cook to answer. Silence. She was out for groceries. The phone kept ringing. Aaliyah's stomach tightened. It wasn't her job to answer calls. She wasn't supposed to interact. The fewer words she spoke in this house, the safer she was. But the ringing wouldn't stop, and Ethan was still mid-call on his cell phone. "Damn it," he muttered. Then sharply, "Aaliyah, can you grab that for me?" Her heart stuttered. "Yes, sir," she whispered, hoping her voice didn't shake. She picked up the receiver. "Whitford residence, how can I—" A rapid storm of French exploded through the speaker. Her body reacted before her brain had time to stop it. "Monsieur Whitford n'est pas disponible," she replied smoothly. "Puis-je prendre un message?" The room fell silent. She felt the weight of Ethan's stare from the staircase, the kind of stare she'd spent 6 months avoiding. She scribbled notes in French, handwriting neat because Samuel, her adoptive father, had insisted she never forget the language he taught her. When the call ended, she slowly lowered the phone. Ethan was no longer on the stairs. He was behind her. "What was that?" Aaliyah swallowed. "Just a message, sir." She extended the paper, praying her hand wouldn't tremble. He didn't take it. He was still staring at her like he was seeing her for the first time, like she had broken whatever box he had silently placed her in as the help. "You speak French," he said quietly. It was nothing. "That wasn't nothing. You sounded like a native speaker." She forced a shrug. "My dad taught me." "Your dad?" "Samuel Dawson. He loved French." Ethan glanced down at her notes. "You spelled reunion with the accent, and disposable correctly. Most fluent people forget the accent marks, but you didn't." Aaliyah's cheeks burned. A black woman speaking flawless French in a millionaire's mansion? Of course he was shocked. People like him always were. "I should get back to cleaning," she said quickly. But from the corner of her eye, she saw his expression shift. Not anger, curiosity. Curiosity was far worse. Curiosity threatened to unravel everything. She left the room the moment he nodded, retreating into the kitchen, pressing a hand to the necklace Samuel gave her, the only thing she still carried from her old life. "I'm sorry, Daddy," she whispered. She wasn't supposed to slip. She wasn't supposed to shine. Because when Aaliyah shined, people noticed. And when people noticed, danger followed. 2 days later, during an important lunch meeting with French investors, the second mistake happened. Aaliyah stayed in the kitchen preparing coffee, trying to drown out the animated French conversation coming from the dining room. Their words cut through her like sharp reminders of a life she'd lost. She carried in the tray, head bowed. As she set the cups down, one of the investors nodded politely at her. polite in the distant, stiff way some white men used around black women, as though kindness cost too much. Then Ethan said something that made her breath hitch. "Aaliyah, would you stay in case we need anything?" She froze. He had never asked that before. But she nodded and stepped back against the wall, trying to blend into the wallpaper. It didn't work. One of the investors launched into French again. Ethan's face tightened. He was trying to follow but failing. Badly. Aaliyah's pulse quickened. She shouldn't say anything. Helping could expose her. But the investors were already losing patience, flipping through documents, murmuring doubts. And Ethan, he was drowning. When he hesitated over a logistics question, she couldn't bear it. She stepped forward. "Excuse me," she said softly. "The compressors and turbines can't be delayed. Everything else can go by ship." Ethan looked at her like she had handed him oxygen. "You're sure?" "Yes, sir." The investor blinked. "You work in logistics?" he asked skeptically, his eyes flicking from her skin to her plain uniform. "No, sir," she replied gently. "I just remember details." The man looked surprised. A black house cleaner correcting million-dollar logistics wasn't something he saw every day, but her answer fixed everything. The meeting smoothed. The tension fell away. When the investors left, Ethan closed the door behind them, turned and said quietly, "You saved me." Aaliyah shook her head. "I just helped." "No, you knew exactly what I didn't. How, Aaliyah? How does someone like you—" He stopped abruptly, realizing what he had just implied. "Someone like you." A phrase black women knew too well. Aaliyah's stomach nodded, but she kept her voice even. "I pay attention, sir. That's all." But this time Ethan didn't let it drop. "Aaliyah, who are you really?" Her breath caught. No one had asked that in 2 years, and no one could ever know the real answer. "Just a woman trying to work," she whispered, stepping past him and leaving the room before the tears rose. But that night, as she stood at the bus stop, she had the terrible feeling someone was watching her. And she was right. Do you think Aaliyah should keep hiding who she is? Yes or no? For the next few days, Ethan watched Aaliyah the way someone watches a puzzle that suddenly reveals it has far more pieces than they realize. He didn't push her, but he observed everything. How she moved quietly through the house, how she flinched at sudden noises, how she kept her back to the walls like someone expecting danger at any moment. And every time he caught her studying documents from across the room, without ever touching them, he felt something tighten inside him. Respect, curiosity, or something deeper? But Aaliyah felt none of that. She felt hunted. Each night as she walked home from the bus stop, she checked over her shoulder. Shadows looked too long. Footsteps echoed where none should be. Once she heard someone whisper her old name, Larissa, carried faintly on the wind. But when she spun around, there was no one there. She told herself she was imagining it. Trauma played tricks on survivors. But deep down, she knew better. Trouble had found her. 2 nights later, it confirmed itself. She was leaving the Whitford mansion when a sleek, unfamiliar car rolled to a stop beside her. The tinted window slid down just enough for her to see a pair of pale blue eyes. Eyes she had prayed she would never see again. "Aaliyah," the man said softly, "or should I call you Larissa?" Her breath stopped. Her blood ran cold. "Adrian," she whispered. Adrian Leclerc smiled like a man greeting an old lover instead of a monster greeting his prey. "You disappeared beautifully," he said. "I should congratulate you. 2 years without a single trace. I almost thought you were dead." She stepped back. "Stay away from me." He laughed gently. "I did stay away until you answered that phone, until you spoke French in a millionaire's mansion. You really thought I wouldn't hear about that? Your voice carries, darling." Panic clawed through her chest. She turned to run, but Adrian grabbed her wrist. Not hard, but with the familiarity of someone who once owned her. "You shouldn't run from me," he murmured. "You're terrible at it." "Let me go," she snapped. He tightened his grip. "If you scream, people will only see a black woman losing control. Do you really think anyone here will believe you over me?" The truth of that cut deeper than his fingers ever could. In wealthy white neighborhoods like Buckhead, the world tilted in the direction of men like him. Men who wore wealth like armor. Men who smiled as they destroyed you. Adrian finally released her, stepping back with mock chivalry. You and I need to talk. Tomorrow morning, Sterling Grand Hotel, room 2203. His eyes darkened. If you don't come, I'll come to you. And trust me, Aaliyah, you don't want Ethan Whitford dragged into this. Her legs shook as the car pulled away. She didn't go home. She wandered the city until her fear numbed into resolve. The next morning she showed up. The hotel room felt like a trap before the door even closed behind her. Adrian lounged on the sofa, swirling a glass of whiskey, studying her like she was a performance he had been waiting months to see. You look good, he said. Hiding suits you, makes you quieter, softer. She ignored the insult. What do you want? He gestured to the seat across from him. Sit? No, he smirked. Still stubborn. I almost missed that. Her voice cracked. What do you want, Adrian? His smile slipped. I want my life back. I want the money you stole from me. She stared at him, stunned by the audacity. You framed me for your crime. You stole 50 million euros from that charity, not me. Yes, he said calmly, but you were the perfect scapegoat. Pretty, smart, and black. People believed it without question. That's not my fault, it's the world's. The cruelty of that truth stabbed into her chest. You ruined my life, she whispered, and I'll ruin it again unless you cooperate. He leaned forward, eyes hungry with control. You have two options, he said. Leave Atlanta, leave Ethan, leave everything, disappear again. Or Ethan becomes the next person publicly accused of international tax fraud. I've already sent files to the IRS with his name on them. I only need to press submit for his empire to crumble. She gasped. Why him? Because you care about him, Adrian replied, and because he's the kind of man people believe, which means you'll do anything to protect him. Aaliyah felt her throat closing. It wasn't fair. Ethan didn't even know who she really was, and already he was being dragged into a nightmare he never asked for. What do you want me to do? She whispered. Adrian sat back, pleased. Break his trust, break his heart, leave, quietly, today. She shook her head, tears burning. You can't ask me to destroy someone who's been nothing but decent to me. Oh, I can ask, he said softly. Because you owe me, Aaliyah. I kept you alive these past 2 years by not turning you in. But maybe it's time the world learns the truth about you. He tossed an envelope onto the table. Inside is a boarding pass. New identity, new country, new life. Take it, and Ethan lives untouched. Aaliyah stared at it. Her freedom, Ethan's destruction, her own destruction. The weight of impossible choices crushed her. What if I refuse, she whispered. Adrian's voice dropped to a chilling calm. Then say goodbye to Ethan Whitford's reputation, and possibly his heartbeat. Fear pulsed through her like ice. Your choice, he said gently, but choose fast. Aaliyah returned to the mansion trembling. Ethan noticed immediately. Aaliyah, what happened? Did someone say something to you? Did someone follow you? His concern felt like a knife twisting deeper into her guilt. I'm fine, she lied. I just need space. He stepped closer. Aaliyah, we're past pretending. Something's wrong. She forced a smile. Please, Ethan, not today. But he wasn't stupid. He saw the fear. He saw the pain. And for the first time, he wondered if the woman he trusted was running from something far more dangerous than poverty. That night, Aaliyah packed her bag. As she zipped the suitcase, a single tear slid down her cheek. I'm sorry, she whispered. I won't let him hurt you. But when she opened the front door, Ethan stood outside, blocking her way. Aaliyah, he said softly, we're done with lies. You're going to tell me the truth. All of it. Her heart shattered, because behind Ethan, she saw headlights. A car she recognized, a threat she couldn't outrun. Adrian was back, and this time, he wasn't alone. The headlights behind Ethan weren't moving. They just hovered there, like a pair of cold eyes watching Aaliyah's breath catch in her throat. She knew whose car it was. She knew the danger sitting behind that tinted glass. She knew Adrian never showed up without a plan. But Ethan didn't know any of that. All he saw was a terrified woman he cared about, clutching a suitcase at midnight with a haunted look in her eyes. "Aaliyah," he repeated softly, "you don't have to run anymore. Talk to me." Her fingers tightened around the handle of the suitcase. Behind Ethan, the car door cracked open. She saw the polished shoe, the familiar silhouette, the darkness that came with Adrian Leclerc. No, not tonight. Not in front of Ethan. She stepped forward quickly, pushing Ethan back inside the doorway just as Adrian approached. Well, Adrian murmured with a cold smile. "Isn't this touching? A late-night goodbye." Ethan stared at him, confused. "Who the hell are you?" Adrian extended his hand with eerie politeness. "A friend," he said. "Or at least, I used to be." Aaliyah stepped between them. "Don't touch him. Don't talk to him. This is between you and me." Ethan looked at her, really looked at her then, and realized the depth of the fear she lived with. Not fear of poverty, not fear of being judged. Fear of this man. "Aaliyah," he whispered, "please tell me what's going on." Tears finally broke through. She had run for 2 years. She had hidden behind new names, new jobs, new cities. She had swallowed her voice because the world had already decided what a black woman like her was capable of and incapable of. But Ethan wasn't the world, and she wasn't running anymore. So she breathed in, steadied herself, and told him the truth. She told him about the charity money, about Adrian framing her so he could disappear with millions, about the headlines that condemned her before she could defend herself, about her adoptive father Samuel, who tried to expose Adrian and paid with his life, about the constant fear, the constant watching, the constant weight of knowing she could be arrested, or worse, at any moment. She told him everything, all of it, from the beginning to the moment she stood before him. When she finished, Ethan didn't speak. Not because he doubted her, but because he was trying to hold back the fury burning in his chest. "You threatened her?" Ethan said sharply to Adrian. "You framed her? You've been stalking her." Adrian smiled like the villain he was. "She's dramatic," he said. "She was always dramatic. That's why she's perfect to blame. She reacts, and the world watches her fall apart. And you think anyone's going to believe you over her now?" Ethan snapped. "Oh yes," Adrian replied calmly. "I always do. Men like me always get believed first. And women like her—" "Don't you finish that sentence," Ethan growled. For the first time, Adrian hesitated, because Ethan Whitford wasn't just any man. He was a man with influence, connections, and a reputation built on fairness. A man people trusted. A man who, when angry, became a force. And right now, he was furious. "Get off my property," Ethan said. "Right now." But Adrian wasn't done. "Be careful," he warned. "If you stand with her, you will fall with her." "No," Ethan whispered, stepping closer. "If I stand with her, we rise." And that was the moment the trap snapped shut. Blue and red lights flashed across the driveway. FBI agents poured out from 2 unmarked cars. Doors slammed. Commands echoed. "Adrian Leclerc, you're under arrest for fraud, extortion, identity manipulation, and suspicion of homicide." Aaliyah gasped. Ethan stared. Marissa Boyd, former FBI agent, stepped forward, badge raised. "Good work, Aaliyah," she said. "Your meeting at the hotel gave us every recording we needed. Funny thing about criminals, they love confessing when they think they're winning." Aaliyah blinked. "Wait, she didn't record anything. Adrian had caught her trying days ago. So," Marissa smiled. "Ethan called me. He said something felt wrong, so we followed Adrian. Turns out he's been talking to himself a lot. In rooms we bugged." Adrian's face drained of color as agents cuffed him. "This isn't over," he shouted as they dragged him toward the car. "You think anyone will protect a woman like you? A black woman? You'll never outrun this." Aaliyah didn't flinch. For the first time in years, she didn't tremble. She stepped forward, voice steady. "I'm not running anymore," she said, "and I'm not alone anymore." Adrian roared as the car door slammed shut, his voice swallowed by the sirens. Then silence. Beautiful, heavy, freeing silence. Aaliyah collapsed, not from fear but relief. Ethan caught her before she hit the ground. "It's over," he whispered, holding her close. "You're safe now." "No," she whispered back. "I'm finally free." The trial took months. Victims came forward, documents resurfaced, Footage and recordings piled up, and piece by piece, the truth built itself into something the world couldn't ignore. Aaliyah Dawson, the black woman they once painted as a thief, walked out of federal court fully exonerated. Not just innocent, vindicated. She didn't just survive the story, she rewrote it. And Ethan was there every step of the way. When he asked her to stay in Atlanta, she stayed. When he asked her to join his company, not as help, but as an operations consultant, she accepted. And when a year later, he asked her to share a life with him, she cried harder than she had the day she was declared innocent. Together, they eventually started Dawson Whitford Foundation, helping women, especially women of color, escape manipulation, rebuild their lives, and be believed. Aaliyah found her voice, and the world finally listened. Not because she was loud, but because she was no longer afraid. Because justice wasn't a gift. It was something she fought for, and won. Did this ending make you feel something? Yes or no? Should more stories like this be told to challenge racial prejudice? If you enjoyed this story, comment 111, tell me which country you're watching from, and share this video so more people can feel this message.